You're on.
Hey guys, boy, today do we have a treat for you. Normally, I set up how great the master classes are going to be, but this time I get to say you already know how great the master class is going to be because you've already met Tim. I've had a couple of incredible conversations with my friend Tim Shurr, and I shared with him, I said, look, everybody went bananas over the emotional trauma content. And you know what, Tim, that's because it's truth, right?
Yes.
The innate spirit within us leaps at truth, right? We know that. And this is truth. So I just want to do a bit of an introduction to today's class, kind of a recap, but also kind of a checking in, which is kind of a classic coaching approach, right? On where people are right now. So guys, if you're within the sound of my voice, you have had a desire to, well, in our case, probably lose 20 pounds in 30 days. You have had a desire to drop some weight, to have the scale reflect a certain number to you, to fit into a certain item of clothing, to maybe weigh a high school weight or the weight that you were when you got married. Perhaps you have a desire to shed some pounds for a certain occurrence or experience in your life. Many times it's been class reunion or cruises. In the arena of time we're living in right now, that may not be the case, but that is the case very often. What is also possible is that you've decided you want to get to a healthy weight. Like it might not be about skinny jeans or any kind of event. It may be that you've just decided you really want to get to a healthy weight and you want to feel better than you've felt in your entire life. Any or all of these goals are goals that we've heard a lot about over the years. And while there isn't anything wrong with them, I would propose to you something I've been saying for decades, and that is that they are incomplete. They are very incomplete. They're not bad. They don't include everything that needs to be included. You need to know what goal you want to achieve, but you need to know why you want to achieve it. And as I was talking with Tim this morning, I said, I told him something that I didn't tell him in our conversations last week. And I said, it's always about an experience. It's just that most of the time we don't realize that. People want to lose weight or get in shape for an experience. Now, I'm at the lake house in the summertime. This is where we live in the summer. And we have a slip and slide outside for the littles. And, it's so fun to watch them play on the slip and slide. And I said to Tim, I said, there are a lot of folks who would love to get on the slip and slide and play with the kids, the grandkids, but they don't feel good, or they don't have the energy, or their body hurts, or just emotionally, they're so down from trying and not succeeding that they don't get out there and play. Me, look, I'm on the slip and slide. I'm jumping up and down on the yoga mat in the lake. And I want that for everybody. So you need to know what experience you want to have. Maybe you want to climb a mountain. Maybe you want to ride 25 miles on your bike. Maybe it is that you want to be there with the kids and the grandkids. Maybe you just want to live life younger. But losing weight and getting in shape is always about an experience. And you need to know what that experience is that you want to have. We believe we can bring them about. But here's the thing, and this is something people don't think about. You think about what you want. You might even think about why you want it, the experience you want to have. But what you're not really thinking about is why you're not there yet. You know that you've tried diet after diet after diet. You know that you've tried many exercise regimens that have been presented to you. You know that as you've gone through different eating programs, you find yourself craving certain foods and wanting to figure out recipes. We have that a lot in our company. I need a recipe to eat a certain thing. Beth and I were talking earlier about chocolate-covered pretzels. Everybody loves the chocolate-covered pretzels. And you know what? Now you're going to ask, because I know you. You're going to say, how do I eat chocolate-covered pretzels? Because I know that's what you want. But once you get past the, gosh, I have a craving for X, how do I eat X? Many folks, well, the statistics is 95 to 97% gain their weight back, whatever weight they've lost. Maybe they lost it all, maybe they lost a little. But again, just to recap, you need to know what you want. More importantly, you need to know why you want it, because that will pull you forward. But you need to know why you don't have it yet. And my friend Tim Shurr, who's just going to get into sharing some incredible information with you today, was helping people with this exact path that we're talking about, losing weight. And he saw people go on diets and do exercise programs and have these cravings and gain their weight back. And he decided he was going to look at people who had been at a healthy weight for 5 years and look at what they were doing and what they had overcome and what they wanted. And what he uncovered was something that within our Motivation Assassinators program, we teach under B for beliefs. And he went a lot deeper. We teach it in our Lifestyle Success program, only Tim has really expounded on it. And what we're going to talk about today is really those limiting beliefs that are buried in the unconscious. And we're going to get a little bit into where they come from, which is the emotional trauma source. And well, the bottom line is this: we've helped, 1 million people lose weight and become well. And that's a big number. But the reason we're working with Tim is because I know that number would have grown by even more millions if we would have addressed this. 15,000 people have worked with Tim on the limiting beliefs and overcoming them and the source of emotional trauma. And 15,000 people have seen astounding results because they got to the root of what was really going on. It wasn't about the food at all. So with that set up, my friend Tim Shurr, let's get into talking about, the problem. I know you'll do a much better job than I did of really expounding on that problem. And then let's move forward from there.
Well, thank you, Donna. That was actually beautiful. It was so eloquent how you just summed it all up. And that's exactly right. People would come to me and they would say, I can't lose weight because I have these cravings, or I'm addicted to sugar. And then the third thing that they would often say is, or because of my past, because of things that I've gone through in my past. They didn't call it emotional trauma. We don't walk around usually talking about emotional trauma. What we talk about is that we were hurt by people in our past, or our parents weren't there to protect us, or I had experienced some kind of physical, sexual, mental, verbal abuse or neglect, or I was humiliated by a teacher in the front of the classroom, right? We have what we call big trauma and little trauma, right? And so we all go through some form, and it all often feels the same. It hurts. And it's not the trauma per se, or the experience that we go through that's so painful. It's the beliefs that come from it. And that's what I started paying attention to. So if you get bit by a rattlesnake, it hurts. It definitely hurts. But it's not the snake bite that paralyzes you. It's the venom or the poison that's left inside. And we have poison in our unconscious minds. And this poison are beliefs like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve love, I'm not safe, I don't have the ability to actually create what I want on my own, right? And these limiting beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. We start thinking, feeling, and behaving in ways that lead to those outcomes, and we're not doing any of it consciously. It's one of the challenges when I talk about your unconscious mind. So let's just talk about what does that mean. So let's say there's just two parts for simplicity's sake. There's two parts of your mind, and your mind has your conscious and your unconscious. So your conscious mind is the part of you that you are taking the world in through your five senses. What you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch. You're taking in this data all the time, and your mind is trying to make meaning of it. What does this mean? Am I safe? What should I do next to avoid pain or create more pleasure in my life? And so your conscious mind is the rational, logical, analytical, detail process part of your mind that you're using right now to try to make meaning out of what Donna and I are sharing with you. So then we have your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind controls two things. It controls your autonomic functions, so it keeps your heart beating 100,000 times a day and you don't have to think about it. It keeps you breathing. It regulates your metabolism, your endocrine system. It keeps your blood flowing, all of that stuff without any conscious effort on your part at all. The second thing that your unconscious mind does is it runs your programs. So think of your unconscious mind like a computer, and your beliefs are the program software, right? So you have software that's running in your computer brain, and that software dictates everything that you go through in life, because your beliefs determine how you interpret what you experience. It's not what you experience, it's how you interpret those situations and the meaning that you give to those situations that influence how you feel and how you behave. So it's not what shows up, it's how you show up. And what determines how you show up and how you handle situations? Your beliefs. And some of these beliefs are very empowering, and they will serve you well. They will bring you to people and to information and to being a part of a tribe like Donna's WOW community, right? Where it's driving you to be a part of that because it knows that you have this greatness inside of you, and this is one way of experiencing it. But we also have a lot of other BS belief systems in our head that are holding us back. And so when Donna's right, people came to me for years, how can I lose weight? And I can't stop with the cravings and sugar and all this other stuff. But it turned out that it really wasn't about that. It was about what, like Donna said, what was driving those things. What's driving your cravings? What are you really craving? Mm-hmm. And so that's where I went deep into uncovering beliefs.
So let me point something out. Now, this is probably obvious to you guys, but I'm going to make sure I say this because I actually had it in my notes. I didn't mention it, and this needs mentioned. It may be that you've tried many plans, and ours is just the next one you're on. Or maybe you're a guest and you're not even on our plan, and you've still tried many, many, many plans. And you may have gotten to the point where you lost, but weren't able to continue the lifestyle, or you didn't really lose all you wanted to lose. So you found yourself frustrated, sometimes even disheartened, borderline situational depression, even with a lot of folks, I believe. Some even angry, and some to the point of flat out just throwing in the towel and giving up. What I want you to realize is this does not just apply to weight loss or building your immune system or becoming well. This can apply to any goal you set for yourself. Because, well, I taught something a long time ago where I said losing weight isn't really about the food, and becoming wealthy isn't really about the money, and having a wonderful marriage isn't really about how you love. You can get down to the root, and the root always comes back to this that we're talking about today. The root always comes back to this limiting belief, or the unconscious mind, and it will be limiting or limited, or it will be limiting or limitless. And I think a lot of you know that, but as I was sharing with Tim over the last several amazing conversations we've had, I said, some folks don't know that. And what we've done a really, really good job of is meeting you where you are. We've done a really good job of saying, look, you can lose up to 20 pounds in 30 days. Many lose more than that. You certainly can get into your skinny jeans. You certainly can feel like you're 18 years old again. You certainly can eat chocolate covered pretzels. Like, we've done a really good job of saying, here's the program to follow. But what I have known for years, decades even, is that it's not about the food. I'm just meeting you where you are, and that is my heart to do that. And I have amazing people on our team all over the world who are helping you do that. The thing is, what we're talking about today is really the magic. If there was a magic pill, this is really it. So as we really identify, okay, maybe I've gone through frustration, maybe I do know I have issues, but I don't know where they come from. And we all have issues, by the way, all of us, definitely me, all of us. Tim, we had an amazing member who's from Texas. He's been very, very, very transparent about things, but just in case he doesn't want his name shared, I won't share it. But he is so aware. He said, I was told that we didn't have money for food when I was a kid, or that I shouldn't eat any more food because there wasn't enough money, or something along the line. And he said, I know that now that I can afford it, I'm saying to my dad, I'll show you, Dad, I'll eat as much as I want. So he's aware of that buried belief, but, and even aware of the emotional trauma situation, the source, but maybe you would help him understand that the unconscious belief is yet a little bit different, or you'd help him overcome it. So I'm simply using him as an example, guys, because I know that's all of us. It's all of us. What we're going to do today is really help you understand some indications of what unconscious unconscious beliefs might be hurting you. We're going to help you understand some benefits of overcoming the unconscious beliefs that might be hurting you. And we're even going to get into what some of those emotional trauma sources are. So I thought I would share that this could apply to anything, not just weight loss. And also that a lot of our folks out there, Tim, they really do have an understanding that, gosh, I've done this so many times. I know Donna's got to be right. This has got to be about more than just food. So everybody's very open to why they haven't achieved yet. Is, again, for a while they thought I hadn't found the right diet. I don't think that's our tribe. I think our tribe knows it's more about than just what they're eating, even though, again, they want chocolate covered pretzels. And it's okay because you can have them. But I really believe the reason folks haven't achieved their goal is very, very simply because of that focus on the food, or focus on the recipe, or focus on the craving, as you say it, as opposed to what are you really craving, right? What's causing you to think the way you think, or feel the way you feel, or crave the way you crave? And that's why I think this content today could very well be some of the most important content we've ever shared, and certainly something, as you and I have talked about, that's going to be part of Lifestyle Success 2.0. So let's keep going. This is great content.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Donna. And you're exactly right. I mean, you really are. This is something that people are not aware of, how much their past impacts them, and often because of how it's been packaged in a way where you think that you have to somehow go to a psychiatrist and get on medicine, or that you have, something deeply wrong with you, and you don't want to go through that. That's not who I am. I'm pretty happy person. I just have trouble losing weight, right? And so it's how it's been packaged. People really don't understand that you've got this power inside of you, this magic inside of you, and it can be released in a whole new way if you understand how your mind works and how these beliefs are operating at that subconscious or unconscious level. So the first example you gave about the gentleman who was aware of that he was rebelling, right? I'll show you, I'll eat twice as much. And a lot of times people do rebel just because of childhood experiences, or because of things that they were just frustrated with. They get tired of being on a diet, because what does a diet imply? It implies that you're not good enough the way that you are. And people get sick of feeling that way. Mm-hmm. So they rebel, right? And I get it. I totally get that, right? We want to feel like we're enough. We want to feel happy. We want to live our life the way we want to live it, with, and feel good about ourselves, and feel like we have control over our destiny. And when we don't feel like we have that, we distract. We distract hard with food, with alcohol, with arguments, with shopping, with all kinds of different things, getting caught up in distractions, because we really don't know how to deal with, how do you fix it? How do you improve it? How do you heal it? And so that gentleman, where he was rebelling because he felt like he didn't have enough food, other people have been in that same situation, because there really are just a handful of situations that people, all of us, go through. The details are a little different, but the patterns and the strategies and what happens, the formulas, are almost always the same every single time. And so I've met people in that situation that they didn't have a lot growing up. So whenever they got around food, they ate as much as they could, because they didn't know if they were going to have more down the road. And even though consciously they get it, as an adult, they understand, well, I have food around me now. Their child beliefs, the little girl inside of them or boy inside of them, still says, no, I got to get it now, because there might not be enough. And so we really are, in most cases, almost all of us, 7.8 billion people on this planet, most of us are being run by our inner 12-year-old. Think about that for a second. Do you want a 12-year-old running your health? I have a 12-year-old right now. my son Aiden. And if I let him, he'd eat ice cream all day long. Right? Sounds like a fun day, right? However, it makes you tired, it makes you sick. You end up, I lost both my grandpas from type 2 diabetes. And you know, they died early. They died younger than they should have because of their sweet tooth and because of these beliefs that they had in their mind. And so getting in there and helping people to become aware is step one, because most people do not realize how much of an impact these beliefs are ruling them. And then the second step is what do you do with it? How do you upgrade the BS in your mind? How do you upgrade your beliefs? Because even if you are aware that you have been through experiences and you don't know what to do with them, you know, this is what we're going to bring. I'm going to show you exactly what to do. I know exactly what to do to free you from that mental prison you may find yourself in.
I'm going to do one quick parallel. You are doing an amazing job of talking about how this relates to food. Actually, I'm going to do two parallels, and the second one does completely relate to food. The first one relates to behavior. So this is just to reinforce what I just said, that losing weight is not about food. And getting yourself to a place of financial stability is not even about income. So Tim is talking about how sometimes we've been sent the message growing up. Our inner 12-year-old, I love that, gets the message there's not enough food, I'm not allowed to have certain amounts of food, or whatever the case might be. And therefore, then we do the I'll show you rebellious kid thing, right? Well, mine was more spending. See, we grew up with a very, very limited income. Now, I was the baby, so let's be real. I pretty much had what I wanted, but not, I had what I wanted in a bit more of a poverty mindset, not what you think of with a child who has everything they want. I was around, however, a lot of kids who had everything, because my mom was in a direct selling company. She was good at what she did, so she won a lot of the contests, and I got to be around these people. I think that's what caused my dream building. But here's the thing. I'll call it really wise stewardship character kind of started waning after I started having money, and I became a spender. And I'd never really been a spender. Now I'm happy to report I'm back to that really wise steward again. But I went through a big season of I was never able to have these things. So I'm going to have these things. I'm going to buy things without looking at the price tag. That was completely, foreign to who I was. So this is a complete parallel, guys, that this unconscious mind training, emotional trauma training, and how to erase these things and turn them on their head, this is going to literally affect your whole life, like your entire life, because it's the root of everything. Now, to make this even more pointed, let's, Tim, go back to all the experience you've had. And let's say that somebody comes to you and says, but I just want to get thin, and I've tried everything and nothing's working. Where do you go from there? What do you say to them? How do you begin the awareness of unconscious belief and then move into the understanding of emotional trauma? Where do you go with that person? Tim, I've tried everything. I'm frustrated. I'm to the point of giving up. I'm ticked off, which is making me want to eat more Oreos and drink more comfort drink. And this is not, which is the second point I was going to make. Sometimes it's not that we get a lot of what we didn't have in the past. Sometimes it's that we're trying to mask a feeling that we're feeling. So yes. I want to get thin. I'm tired of running for comfort foods. I'm tired of drinking comfort drink, but I'm sick and tired of trying things that don't work. Can you help me?
Yes, that's beautiful. And I've heard that exact sentiment many, many thousands of times. And so the first thing I say is, you've tried everything. Everything under the sun. What you're saying is that you've tried all these diets. You've tried the same dieting approach over and over, and it hasn't worked for you. Well, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So I always say that you shouldn't try anything where the first three letters spell die. Right? Like in a diet. And so what we have to do is we've got to focus on upgrading what's driving that feeling. It's kind of like you've got this ball and you're pumping air into it. I'm trying, I'm using willpower. I'm doing everything I can. I followed everything everybody told me to do, and I'm still not losing the weight. Well, it's because there's a hole on the other side of the ball. And it won't matter how much air you pump into that ball if the air keeps leaking out on the other side. What created the hole? Emotional trauma. Now, it might not be something like, where you were kidnapped, although I've had to, the honor of working with people that have been kidnapped and tortured and been through horrible things. And I had to figure out how to take the tiny pieces of their heart and put them back together again. Most people haven't had those experiences, but a lot of people have had some pretty traumatic things that have gone, that they've gone through in life that is just heartbreaking, right? We've all had our stuff. You've had your issues. So have I. I've been through some heartbreaking things too. That's why I do this, right? So what we do then is we figure out, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to use it to strengthen us, or are we going to use it to keep us in victimhood? Right? There's phases that we go through that lead to a happier, healthier, more fulfilling life. And we almost all start in victimhood. And then as we keep learning and growing, we move into empowerment, where we start taking charge. And then we continue to move and become more and more self-aware, so that we really are moving from surviving to thriving. So when someone comes in and they says, I've tried everything, first of all, you haven't tried everything. You've tried a similar approach that everybody's told to do. Go on a diet if you want to lose weight. But like Donna said, 95 to 97%. If you went, would you go to a school? Would you go to a college that had a 97% dropout rate? No. Well, then why do you keep going back to dieting? So there has to be another approach. And there was a book that I read a long time called It's Not What You're Eating, It's What's Eating You. And that book is brilliant, because it was one of the very first books that ever said, hey, you're trying to solve the symptoms. You got to solve the source. You're cutting the top off of weeds. You got to get to the root and pull it up there. But I'll tell you, what keeps people from doing that is a couple of things. One, they think it's going to be too hard. Okay. It's going to be too scary and too painful. If I open up that door, I don't know if I'll ever get it to close again. I don't want to drudge up stuff from the past. I've tried really hard to forget about it, even though it's still ruling, most of all of the decisions that you're making at an unconscious level. And I'm also afraid that, people might find out who I really am or what I really am. One of the biggest fears that we have is that I'm a fraud or an imposter, or that I'm broken or dirty or not good enough or unlovable or unworthy. These are some pretty heavy things. Now, if you came in here, for this talk with Donna and I, and you're like, holy cow, Tim, I just wanted to lose a couple of pounds, right? I don't need a Dr. Phil moment. Well, that's cool. I totally get it. And, it's not always a Dr. Phil moment. However, if you don't have what you want, Donna asked the question, how come? It's not because you're not trying hard enough. It's not because it's your fault. And it's not because you don't have enough willpower. Those are the lies in the game, right? That is not what it is. It's because we have a beautiful mind. You have a beautiful mind, and it is running programs right now that are not in alignment with who you authentically are, which is why you keep experiencing conflict and roadblocks, no matter how hard you try, no matter how many times you try. And so, the first thing I do is what I call a pattern interrupt, which is someone's going a certain direction and I give them information that makes them go, whoa, wait a second, maybe I should go in a different direction, which would lead to a more effective and better outcome. And so that's how I do it when we first start. But I will tell you this real quick, Donna, that we're in a new time because of the internet and because of access to information, and because we're able to connect with each other faster and have access to more of what people are thinking about, like you and I having this program through a webinar like this, or through a meeting on Facebook. We didn't have that, a handful of years ago. And so we do now. So most of the people that come in, when I say it's probably, what you've experienced in your past and some of these beliefs, they're already coming in going, you know what? I think you're right.
Right. So listen, let me interject a really important question right there. Give us some examples of some of those limiting beliefs Now again, remember guys that what Tim shared with us is that unconscious mind. The conscious mind is paying attention to what's happening out here and listening and processing and being logical and thinking of maybe a response to a question that's posed. But the unconscious mind, I love the way you said this, the unconscious mind runs the programs. The unconscious mind is going to affect the conscious mind for how you would respond to something. So let's just give a list as best you can. I don't, it won't be completely exhaustive. That's not possible. But can you give us a list, Tim, of some of the limiting beliefs with regard to weight loss or getting healthy that you've heard people say to you?
Yeah, sure. So Peggy came to me and she came in for a weight loss program, said, I'm addicted to sugar. I know what to do. I just can't get myself to do it. I drive by. I said, how did you find me? She said, I was driving by the Dairy Barn, which is her version of an ice cream shop. And she said, I was driving by and I told myself, I'm not stopping for a chocolate milkshake today. I'm not doing it. I'm losing this weight. And she said, right before she passed the last entrance to turn in, it was like some invisible force yanked the steering wheel. And next thing she knows, she was in the drive-thru. And then she pulled up to the window and she was so upset that she ordered an extra large chocolate milkshake. And then she pulled over into the parking lot and started crying. And she said, I just was sobbing. Felt so defeated and felt so frustrated because today was going to be the day and I've already failed. And she said, and then I heard one of your commercials on the radio. And she said, I decided to call. And so we started working with her. And one of the things that we ended up finding out is that she considered herself a fat kid, right? She had struggled with with weight her whole entire life. And she had a few extra pounds when she was a young girl, which doesn't mean anything about who she is. And, but her parents, because of health, were always trying to get her on a diet. And the belief became, you're not good enough who you are. You're not enough. And that is the core belief that drives all the other fears and insecurities in the world, Donna. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. And because I'm not enough, I won't be loved. And then, so now I'm afraid of rejection. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of being humiliated. I'm afraid of being embarrassed. I'm afraid of people abandoning me. I'm afraid of being a fraud. I'm afraid of success. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of everything. Now, sometimes we learn how to use that and channel it with the I'll show you attitude, or we become rebellious, or we try to make our life better because we don't want to be in pain all the time. But what happens is our driver becomes anxiety. We're always trying to avoid the pain based on these fears of our past, and it creates massive stress and anxiety. And now when you look at the world, and this was before the coronavirus, when you look at the world and how many people were on medication for depression and anxiety, it was skyrocketing. Right. And now it's off the charts. We're so riddled with anxiety. We're so riddled with insecurity. Where does that come from? Everybody's trying to just get rid of it. Where did it come from? It came from those early childhood experiences, and maybe not always in childhood, so Paula so let me tell you, so Peggy and I, we upgraded her beliefs that you are good enough. You're more than enough. You're amazing. You're powerful. You have greatness within you. I gave her hope for the future, which gave her power in the present. And because she began loving herself and accepting herself, she began to take care of herself in a whole new way. And about 6 months later, she was down 70 pounds. And this is someone who suddenly was no longer addicted to sugar. And we didn't even talk that much about sugar, right? We didn't talk about eating broccoli.
But she came to you saying, I'm addicted to sugar.
She came to me for the symptom, and I provided her the solution, because the solution wasn't treating the symptoms, because you can do it all day long. And I've done that early in my career. Before I figured this out, I did that. I had one client, I swear, every week she came in, it was Cheetos, then it was Milk Duds, then it was French fries, and I'm like, all right, we're going to get rid of Milk Duds this week, and then we're going to do this and that. And I realized that it's not about getting rid of anything. It's about moving towards a sense of fulfillment, a sense of self-love, a feeling of acceptance, a feeling of knowing that you're already enough and you can accomplish whatever you want. We just need the combination that will unlock the magic that's already inside of you. You were born with it.
I think people don't realize, I know people don't realize that, and again, everybody take a breath. Everybody take a big breath with what I'm about to say. Ready? The addicted word is a victim word. Now, I'm not saying that real addictions aren't real, guys. So please, please don't hear that. But I am saying that what she didn't know how to handle it. So she said, I'm addicted to sugar. And she believed she was addicted to sugar, but lo and behold, she lost 70 some pounds. So she wasn't addicted to sugar at all. I think that, again, when we are looking to mask a feeling, which is rooted in an emotional trauma, if we're looking to cope with stressors that are in our life today, we will typically cope from the source of emotional trauma. And I said it before, when people run to comfort food or run to comfort drink or run to a behavior that is an unhealthy addiction, these are things that come from the source of emotional trauma, which then have produced a limiting belief. And I know we keep saying this, but it's because we're trying to drive it home. So, you know, Tim just shared that this one example, I'm the fat kid, limiting belief from the unconscious mind. Where did that source start? Well, from the emotional trauma of a parent that was constantly saying, we got to get you to lose some weight. We got to get you to lose some weight. That trauma was, you're not good enough, and I actually love you conditionally. Even though I'm sure the parent was doing the best they could with what they knew, they never would have intended to hurt their child like that. They were sending the message, you're not good enough. We need to do this so you'll be good enough. So again, guys, the emotional trauma source there was a parent that said, just got to get this weight off of you, got to get you on a diet because you're, quote unquote, in parentheses, you're not good enough. So now a child grows up with, again, that inner 12-year-old running her life because the emotional trauma was never identified. That's all you need to do is identify the source and identify the limiting beliefs that are coming from it. The inner 12-year-old was running her life. So now she's going through that same pattern of, clearly I'm not good enough, so I've got to go on the next diet. I've got to go on the next diet. Oh, but I'm addicted to sugar. Oh, I've got to have the milkshake. And it's a perpetual, and again, this isn't just food, but I promise not to go off on another success tangent. There's this perpetual wheel that's turning. And what we're doing today is talking to you about how to put kind of a big, huge speed bump in the road. Because if we can hit a big, huge speed bump, that wheel will go, whoa, wait a second. And that wheel, that speed bump, is where you realize, oh my gosh, I might be having some of these limiting belief conversations in my own head. So, you know, again, I was the fat kid, or I am the fat kid. I'm addicted to sugar. I've tried many times. I'm never going to succeed. I don't know if this is the same person you told me about, Tim. I know there was one woman that came to you so exasperated about everything she had tried that she said, I don't even want you to help me lose weight anymore because I've tried everything. I just want you to help me, and finish the statement for me. What did she say?
Yeah, that was Kathleen. And she said, can you make me a happy fat person? Because it's impossible for me to lose weight and I'm so tired of being miserable all the time. So can you just make me a happy fat person? And then she started to cry, which of course I knew that's not what she wanted, but she was
Right.
settling because she didn't know what else to do. She really had tried everything that she was aware of. And that's why it's so important that we bring this new awareness in so that people realize that, oh no, there's a whole other possibility for you. And it is, if we fast forward a year later, Kathleen just reached out to me yesterday, actually. And she's down 153 pounds. She's kept it off for the last year and moved to New York and is having the best life. I mean, she's starting to really live her life now because she settled. She held back for so long because she was so self-conscious about her weight. You know, our weight often, and it's unfortunate, but our weight often is directly connected to our self-confidence and self-image. And even if you feel like you're 20 pounds overweight, now some people are like, I don't care, you know, and they have that attitude that it doesn't matter. I'm not just my body. I'm who I am. But for most people, it really holds us back. And so it freed her. And then, you know, Paula is someone else. I mean, I've worked with thousands of people, but there's always a few souls that always stand out. And Paula, she came to me, she wasn't talking about cravings or addicted to sugar or anything. She was talking about stress. I am so stressed out. I can't even believe it. And I don't know why. She said, I don't know why, because I've beat cancer. I had a double mastectomy. She said, I beat cancer and I can't seem to get this weight off. And I said, well, what happened? And it turns out that she had cancer, and then she went through her treatments, and then that was really brutal on her. And then she started coping by drinking more. She was fighting with her husband. She was just, her whole life felt like it was a mess, which is why I want to tell this story, because you're right, Donna. It's not really about the weight loss at all. It's about the kind of life that you get to enjoy while you're here on this planet. And so she said that I was just so stressed and been through so much, and it's not who I am. For goodness sake, I was an athlete when I was a kid, you know, and into my teens, and this is not who I am, but I can't get the weight off. And so we started working on upgrading her beliefs. And again, it turned out that she had some things that she experienced when she was younger, and that led to the belief that I'm not safe. And who knows, that might have ended up inviting in the cancer. But it was that core fear that I'm not safe. And so she would never really do much to, she said that the extra fat was a protection. It turned off the attention of men. It didn't attract as much attention. And she was afraid to get rid of it. She was in what I call values conflict. It's all unconscious. She didn't know any of this was happening. But it's like, you can't let go of the one way because it's giving you some kind of hidden benefit that you don't even realize is there. But you don't want it. So you get stuck in this conflict. We resolved the conflict. And as she was dropping the weight and she rediscovered that I am safe, I'm in control, she said, you know what, when I turn 50, I'm going to win a natural bodybuilding competition, because she decided I'm going to get strong, right? Not just have strong beliefs, but I'm going to get physically strong. And I said, you go, and we're going to do this, right? And she did. And a year after that, she dropped 50-something pounds, and then she placed third in her first natural bodybuilding competition.
Awesome.
That was
awesome.
about 4 years ago. And since then, she's won 3 or 4 first-place prizes. So beautiful African-American woman. She has this trophy that she shows me all the time. She said, look with her bicep. Look what I just won, Tim. I'm like, another one? You're amazing, right? She says, I know, right? And that's what this is all about. This is about, you know, experiencing life in a whole new way and unleashing your beauty and your greatness and the power that you were born with.
So we've talked about benefits being, you know, being able to get out on the slippery slide, and that is definitely a benefit. And getting into these competitions and winning that trophy is a benefit. But the thing is, guys, get your head around when Tim said, you're amazing. She said, I know. That's the benefit we're going for. One of the ways that Tim said this to me last week that I loved, he said, we've got to help people understand that they're the mighty oak tree, not the acorn. And you said oak tree, I added mighty oak tree because it's my nickname for my daughter, Mighty Oak. Awesome. And guys, that's the goal. So limiting beliefs, I just can't lose the weight. Now, I know I've been in this business for a long time. I know you may push back and say, no, Donna, it's not a limiting belief. It's a fact. I've tried this and this and this and this and this. So I get it, but we're asking you to just consider it's a limiting belief, because see, technically and in literal terms, you can. Your body has the ability to shed some pounds. So it isn't literal that you can't lose weight. So again, I can't lose the weight. I know we teach in our 3-word cancers that if you find yourself ever thinking or saying, this is hard, this is just hard, that's a limiting belief. And if you switch it to this is simple, it changes everything. Now, just the words won't change it. You need to realize that this is hard is a limiting belief. It's from the unconscious mind. And then you need to go to the root of, why do you look at new things as hard? Because there's an emotional trauma source. You may say, I can't do this. I just can't do it. But again, I just said in literal sense, you can. So it isn't about what you can't do. It's about the source. So let's talk about the sources, Tim. Emotional trauma sources.
So they come from a variety of different experiences. I will tell you that I've had so many people over the years who were embarrassed in a classroom experience, right? They had to be up in front of the classroom and they didn't know something, and the teacher made a derogatory remark, or the kids were making fun of them, and all of a sudden people felt like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't take care of myself, or I'm not smart enough. It can come from the big T traumas. So if you experience some kind of physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, unfortunately, um, more people than not have had some encounter with sexual abuse. I mean, it's really staggering the amount of people that have had some kind of violation that they experienced. And as a result, the feeling of unexpressed anger, not being protected, the injustice, the unfairness of it all, what it does to you when you're a kid. It's different if you go through an experience like that as an adult. When you're a child, your brain isn't even all the way developed yet. Most neuroscientists say that your brain is still developing when you're 22, 23 years old. So when you're 12, this is a very scary thing. We're not interpreting situations the way we would as an adult right now. We're interpreting them as little girls and little boys. And so it almost always comes back to, I'm bad. There's something wrong with me. It's my fault that this happened. And so, and again, it's not usually expressed in that way. Those ideas just become assumptions in our mind. And so, sometimes it happens because you have immature parents, or you didn't have, your parents had some kind of mental illness, or they were so stressed because of their own life that they didn't recognize the words they were saying, what kind of impact they would have on you. Or maybe had really loving parents, right? That had, just by accident would say things. I remember being little, and my dad one time said, I messed up something. He says, boy, you're never going to learn anything. Now imagine if I took that to heart, that I'm never going to learn anything. Well, then I don't even try, right? And then I don't go to school, or I don't go to college, or I keep procrastinating, because procrastination is an unconscious strategy for avoiding pain and disappointment. We procrastinate.
Wow, say that one again, because procrastination is a biggie. Say that one again.
Yeah, procrastination is an unconscious strategy where your brain's trying to avoid pain, trying to avoid being disappointed, trying to avoid being let down, trying to avoid people thinking that you're a fraud because you said you were going to lose this weight and then you failed again. So I'm just going to procrastinate and not have to deal with any of that.
So guys, I want you to, let me jump in here, Tim. I want to make sure people get this. So guys, the unconscious sabotage or the intentional sabotage is from an unconscious belief. And that unconscious belief has a source from emotional trauma. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to put this off because I want to avoid pain. Mm-hmm. Is that if I do it, there will be pain. Mm-hmm. Unconscious belief. Mm-hmm. Okay. So source of emotional trauma is something that went on, that when an attempt was made for improvement, maybe ridicule, maybe mocking, maybe failure, and then people saying you're such a loser. I can remember one parent who was significant in a child's life many years ago that I knew, who would always say the words, "What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you?" And those words would be like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. And I would look at this person and go, "There's nothing the matter with them. Why don't use those words? Words matter." People don't understand how words matter, and not just with children, but definitely with children, especially if the mind isn't formed, the brain isn't formed until you're 22. But I think what we're trying to do, guys, is help you identify your unconscious beliefs. Now, we need to go further into really helping you identify the source, because that's how you can erase it. That's what Tim was talking about when he refers to values conflict and values upgrade. So these are the three steps that I talked about in the video when I promoted today's masterclass. There is an awareness that needs to occur. So step one is the awareness of the unconscious belief. We're going to talk about that a little bit yet. Step two is understanding that emotional trauma source. that brought about these unconscious beliefs. You can't just erase them. You've got to see where they came from. And thirdly, then, it is the fix, if you will, the good response, as opposed to that typical, maybe not such a good response, a negative response. We're going to give you the positive response and how to do it, which is going through the values conflict into the values upgrade. So 3 steps, being aware of the unconscious beliefs and how they're showing up and your behaviors and your words and your actions and your thoughts. It's understanding then that emotional trauma source so you can decide what you need to do about it. And then thirdly, it's the positive response, the good response, the fix, as opposed to continuing down a path of behavior that isn't serving you. So I know, Tim, that we've talked about there are some questions that a person can ask themselves to understand these unconscious beliefs that are showing up that are hurting them. Could we go through maybe just 2 or 3 of those to help a person start to answer those questions in their mind?
Sure. I mean, one of the simplest questions is, what would I have to believe in order to have what I want? What would I have to believe? I'd have to believe that it's possible. I have to believe that I'm capable of this, and then what's holding you back? And if you start asking simple questions like that, really one of the strategies is upgrading your questions. William James, the father of modern psychology, once said, the greatest discovery of the 20th century is that the quality of your life is being determined by the quality of your thinking. And thinking is really just a process of you walking around asking yourself questions all day. And those questions you ask yourself focus your mind on certain things. So if you ask questions like, why is this so hard? Why don't things ever work out for me? Why can't I lose this weight? Your brain, those are very lousy questions. They assume that you can't do anything and that you're not enough, right? So when you say what's the matter with you, it assumes that there's something that's wrong with you, right? And if you keep hearing that enough, it's like a hypnotic suggestion that gets in your mind and you're like, well, there's something wrong with me and I don't even know what it is, but I can't have what I want because I'm not good enough.
Right.
And so if you start asking yourself, power questions, what do I want? What resources do I have? Who can I lean on for support? What gets in the way? What would I have to believe in order for that to get in the way? I have to believe what? That I have no power over my cravings? Really? I mean, you have power. You just maybe aren't directing it in the right way, because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people, that have felt the same way, and now they have results. And, they're saying the exact same thing as you. And now they are having amazing results. What's the difference? There's only one difference, and it is their beliefs changed. Their perception changed. They went from I can't to I can, right? They went from I'm not good enough to I'm more than enough, right? That's the perceptual shift. That's the change that happened in their mind. And it can happen in your mind too. You probably don't know how. I didn't know how either. But, I've spent the last 30 years of my life studying this and facilitated over 15,000 one-on-one sessions. That's a long time swimming around in people's unconscious minds. So I've heard it all, and been able to help people no matter what their situation. I've helped people lose weight that were in a wheelchair. I've helped people lose weight that had MS. I've helped people lose weight that had fibromyalgia. I've had people that have lost weight that, I remember Tempest was her name. She was 90 years old when she came in, and she had a belief that I'm too old to lose weight, but I want to try it anyway, because she was a go-getter. And it was interesting because she accomplished so much that for her to have this limiting belief, because I will hear this consistently, how can I be so successful with my family and so successful with my business, but I can't lose this weight, right? That's another one that I hear all the time. And it's because you have a different strategy for how you run your marriage, your business, than you are how you take care of you personally. You might be very good at taking care of others, but when it comes to how you take care of yourself, not so much. And that's because of a belief. So if you start asking yourself, what belief do I have that's getting in the way? What do I think is getting in the way? And then what would I rather believe instead? You start to finally ask yourself the right questions. And if you ask yourself the right question, you can find the answer to anything.
So I wrote a couple things down. I want to make sure you guys get these. If you find yourself thinking or saying, what's the matter with me? Why can't I do this? If you find yourself thinking or saying, why is this so hard? If you find yourself thinking or saying, I'm going to fail again. If you find yourself thinking or saying, I can't believe I tried another one. If you find yourself thinking or saying, I'm pretty ticked off, that other person can do this because their metabolism is fast. That other person can do this because they're already built like somebody who could be thin and healthy, but I'm not. If you find yourself thinking or saying, my family's just overweight and unhealthy, it's how it is. If you find yourself thinking or saying, I don't care, I just don't care. See, everything I've just listed for you is an unconscious belief that can be changed. So the really good news is this can be changed. It's identifying your own unconscious beliefs. And as I said, there's a whole series of questions we can take you through. Tim can take you through. I can help guide it. Tim can take you through these questions. They're his. And once you answer the question about your own unconscious belief, we then can go to what predicated that. And that's getting into the emotional trauma source. And then we can get into how to produce a good response, how to change the belief to move again from the values conflict to the values upgrade. Now, we have a pretty incredible offer for you guys right now. And this is something that we haven't done for a very, very long time, at least not in this group necessarily. And we're going to give you the opportunity to not only get these questions and get the book, if you will, that Tim is helping to compose with what I've asked of him for our tribe. So not only can you get the book on getting these questions, identifying your own unconscious beliefs that are hurting you, getting to that emotional trauma source and knowing how to flip it over into something great, you can actually go through the live experience with us. That is the book live, if you will. Way better than being read by the author, as read by the author. You've heard that, right? This is actually going through the experience live. We're going to do this very uniquely. We're going to do this in next week's masterclass. Now, this is a product, if you will, of Tim's, and it's his content, what's known as intellectual property. So he's being so gracious in sharing it with us that, well, I know you told me, Tim, that if somebody invests in an hour of time with you, that's a $350 investment. Mm-hmm. So a $29 investment would certainly be nothing to get the book. And I say that figuratively, guys, because the book is a live experience. Next Monday, we're going to do a live experience masterclass for only a $29 investment, where we're going to take you through these questions. You can ask yourself the questions and uncover what these unconscious beliefs are in your life and how they're hurting you. And then we're going to go into what some of those emotional trauma sources might be and talk you through how to take the next few steps so you can be like Tim's client when he said, you're amazing. And she said, I know. And we want to get all of you there. Now, if you'll bear with me, I'm going to go into the group right now. I'm probably going to mute this so that I don't interrupt us. So bear with me for a second. I'm going to go into the group and I'm going to make sure. I'm probably going to mute this. That I just posted the link. You guys were great for that little pause. I've just posted the link. All you have to do is click on that. And the extra value that you'll get is the ability to ask some questions next week, the ability to bring your own story and what you feel you've gone through and where you feel it has you today, the ability to let Tim guide you through your unconscious beliefs, and like I said, take you into understanding that emotional trauma source, and then we'll lay out the next steps for turning that thing over and turning into something wonderful. So Tim, how would you sum this up? What would you want to say about, you know, what we've talked about? Because I've really driven them home, right? Awareness, understanding, and then you've got to flip that over. What would you say about what we've talked about today and what we'll be doing in our next class together?
So I think what I would like to say is just what my clients have said, right? I've had so many people say the same things that it's almost become a script. And I remember one, she was just a wonderful, wonderful human being. And she had achieved her goal. And she said, you know, Tim, this has been the most amazing experience. I'm actually more happy about the breakthroughs that I've had with my beliefs and about my heart and who I am and how I'm living life and how I'm showing up and how I'm being my authentic self. She said, that's way more exciting than the 40 pounds that I lost. And she said, this is something that's so different that everybody needs, because what you do is you focus on losing the emotional weight, which is the hardest weight to lose. And when you lose the emotional weight, the physical weight just kind of melts off on its own. You're not battling with willpower or trying to talk yourself into being motivated all the time, because you're just living more passionately. And so that's what this is really about. The other thing that I want to mention is that when we talk about emotional trauma, that those two words, emotional and trauma, can freak people out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I want you to know that what we're doing is we are redesigning our life. We're using the power of our mind to create our life by design. And it's a very loving thing. God gave us this amazing potential, and we're using it in this incredible way. And we make it fun and empowering, and it produces results fast, really quickly. So this isn't something where it's going to be some kind of psychology experience where you're drudging up stuff that makes you feel bad all over again, because that sometimes can re-traumatize people. What we're doing is I've created a set of questions and an experience that I'm going to take you through that is very loving and empowering, that it lifts you up, that it gives you guidance, that it gives you focus. And what happens is you are feeling supported and you are left with a plan of action, so you know what to do next. And every step seems simple and comfortable and empowering. And that's what leads to sustainable results. I'm not interested in you dropping emotional or physical weight just to go find it again down the road. You know, we want this to be a really positive, permanent transformation in your life. And, you know, for those of you that join us, that's exactly what we're going to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's how I'm going to sum this up. I was writing as fast as I could possibly write as you're talking. No more battling with willpower. Boy, those sound like amazing words to anybody who's ever attempted to lose some weight. Imagine no more battling with willpower. Fast results. This is not a slow process.
Mm-mm.
A fun and loving experience. A positive experience is what next Monday's masterclass will be. It will empower you, will allow you to have focus that you've not had before. It's going to affect every area of your life, by the way, not just weight loss. There's going to be a Q&A time, and it's going to be a permanent transformation once we get you through this process, which again, as Tim shared, is a fast process, a fun and loving process. So I really will tell you that $29 invested, wow, is nothing to, again, get to be in the live experience as opposed to just reading the book, right? It's the figurative book. It's living the book. It's the live experience of allowing yourself to go through these questions about your unconscious beliefs and getting yourself on the road of turning them over on their head into you realizing that you are in fact the mighty oak, that you're not the acorn. And next week during our masterclass time, and albeit this is one that is a paid masterclass, it's going to be one that, well, will be the equivalent of, I don't know how many programs you've invested in the past and not gotten the solution that you needed. We're so honored and so thrilled to offer this solution. We're so humbled and grateful that God brought Tim Shurr across my path in a very happenstance meeting where I was speaking and he was attending. And I think we sat at that same table together, didn't we? We sat at that, and I was like, okay, this guy's got some good stuff going on. So next Monday, we're going to look forward to being with you. My friend Tim Shurr and I are going to look forward to being with you to begin you on this journey for fast results, permanent transformation, and something you've not delved into in the past that's going to rock your world with whatever eating plan you're following, whatever exercise regime you're on, and whatever other goal you set for yourself. I'm Donna Crutch. This is my good and amazing and wonderful friend Tim Shurr, and we'll see you next week in How to Thank Yourself Thin. See, I waited till the end to say the title because now you know. It's all about what's going on in this mind. I can change everything. I can think myself thin. We'll see you all next week. I'm looking forward to it. The link is in the comments. Go click on the link and end up with the program. We'll see you here next week. Talk to you soon, Tim.
Bye, Donna. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.